We're just starting out. So you guys just acquired Pelago. Tell us all about it. How much was that?
Great start. No, I mean, Pelago has a lot of talented people, and the key goal of the acquisition is to bring those people to Groupon to help with our product development efforts.
And you joined via Mobily.
Yeah, so I co-founded a company called Mobily. We built mobile recommendation products and also location-based apps for a number of big brands. And we sold the company to Groupon last May to essentially become the mobile unit for Groupon.
And I mean, do you see that, we were talking about this a little bit yesterday when Moke was on stage. Do you see this as a trend for the industry, that there's these big players kind of consolidating, pulling in technologies and teams to continue their growth?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's certainly happening in mobile because everybody's realizing that consumers are going to mobile phones from the internet in terms of time spent, if you look at time spent data. And so people need to build products that are targeted at mobile users. And I think the other thing is most companies in the last few years have just tried to take online products and sort of jam them onto mobile. I think in the next few years, you have to start thinking about, well, how do you build products from the ground up targeted towards your mobile users?
And what do you think is different about those types of products? What makes mobile special?
Several things. I mean, one is you have to think about the size of the screen, right? And it's very different when you're designing a product for that size of a screen. The other, and this is very relevant to what we're talking about here, is the location of the user. When you know the location and other information that you can get off a phone, which is a personal device, you can do lots of interesting things in terms of making the products really targeted and personalized towards the user.
And so what is the philosophy that Groupon uses when designing? Well, you just have one mobile app right now, but I'm assuming that's not.
Yeah, I mean, so we have a mobile app across all the key platforms, and the purpose of the mobile app is to allow people to purchase Groupons and also redeem Groupons in a paperless way. And that's really convenient, so you don't have to print anything out. You can just take your app to the store and redeem the Groupon. We also built mobile apps for our merchants, which are barcode scanning apps. So what happens is you can bring a printed Groupon or your phone, and they can use our barcode scanning app to just scan the barcode and immediately redeem the Groupon. So we're thinking about it actually from the consumer and the merchant side. But sort of one of our key products that we've announced that has not launched yet, that's going to be very conducive to mobile, is Groupon Now. And Groupon Now is about finding a deal for something to do nearby right now. So a great example is, it's kind of the age-old question for people who step out of the office and can't figure out where to go to lunch, right? So they turn on the Groupon app, they go to Groupon Now, and they say, hey, my intent is that I want to eat something, and we show 3 or 4 deals of restaurants nearby. You buy that deal, you have a short redemption window, you walk in, and basically you're at that restaurant. And we think that this product is going to be very conducive to mobile just because of the use case, and is really going to change the way people shop locally. And for merchants, it's fantastic because you can essentially tell us, hey, these are times when I don't have a lot of business, and I'm going to turn on Groupon Now deals, and people are going to walk in the door.
And so basically a merchant will be able to have little knobs where they can turn up, I want new customers, I want more old customers. This is the time when I want more customers coming in.
Yeah, I mean, essentially right now, as we sign up merchants for Groupon Now, we say, hey, when are your slow times? And we're going to turn on these Groupon Now deals at these times. It's sort of like giving local businesses a complex inventory management system that only the Walmarts of the world have access to today. And that's why we're really excited about it. And it's kind of different, Groupon Now, from our Daily Deals product, in that think of Daily Deals as sort of teeth whitening. You do it once in a while to get a large influx of customers. Groupon Now is like brushing your teeth. I mean, why wouldn't you do it? Why wouldn't you do it every day? Because every business has times when they'd like more customers to walk in the door.
So it's kind of like a variable happy hour for businesses.
Yeah, it's for businesses essentially to tell us when they'd like customers specifically, and we can be very targeted.
And what type of, are you targeting specific types of merchants, just restaurants, or?
No, I mean, it's a wide swath of merchants, similar to all the categories that we have right now. But I think that the big thing with this product to make it successful is scale. Because if you launch a city, unless you have 1,000 merchants, you're not really going to have the coverage that you need so that whenever someone tries this, they're going to actually get deals. And so I think that's one thing we're really focusing on is to get the scale.
Now, do you think, I mean, a logical extension would be to start to load on local inventory from all these merchants. Do you see that happening?
I think the first step is to create a real-time offer, and then we'll go from there.
Not yet. So the way Google, or at least a talk that Google gave ages ago, their philosophy for mobile apps was that mobile apps hit one of 3 different categories: urgent now, bored now, repetitive now. Seems like Groupon really hits urgent now to meet the daily deals, and then repetitive now with Groupon now eventually. What do you guys have kind of more of a philosophy that you delve into when designing your mobile apps, other than just knowing location and small screen size?
Well, I think we also hit the board, right? So with Groupon now, if you're in a new town or even in your existing town and you're not sure what to do and you're looking for something to do, you can essentially express your intent and we'll give you some deals that maybe are activities that could be fun for you to do. The goal of our mobile apps on the consumer side is to really change the way people shop locally. I mean, our mission is to bring local commerce online and on mobile, right? And that's how we think about it. How do we basically give people a tool so they can discover new businesses and then go transact at them and fulfill all the different use cases you have for that, from sort of the daily deal that we give you to the I'm on the street corner and I'm looking for something to do, tell me something that makes sense.
Now, how do you think Groupon has succeeded so wildly outside of the Valley? Do you think being in Chicago has actually helped it?
Yeah, I mean, to some extent, one of the things we've learned at Groupon is in order to actually get a lot of small businesses participate, you have to start with a sales force, you have to touch them, you have to have contact with them. And I think we have been very successful in building that sales force. And a lot of that sales force is in Chicago and now spreading across.
And where else is Groupon expanding to with engineering?
So in Palo Alto, we're starting to build a really large team from a product and technology perspective. And it's not one of those things where I think a lot of companies that don't start in the Valley just create that like some sort of R&D outpost in the Valley. That's not what we're doing at all. I mean, our team in the Valley is a core part of our product team, is very integrated with everything else that we have. And we're looking for sort of top talent there. But obviously, since we were founded in November 2008, we've now grown to 46 countries, and we have 70 million plus subscribers, and we're doing about 900 plus offers a day. So we're gonna need talent everywhere.
And how do you see yourself expanding internationally? What is going to be your method?
So we've done it, as you all know, with a mix of acquisition and starting out in the country, in terms of our own operation. And we have, hopefully so far gone to 46 countries, and we're going to continue to go rapidly forward. Because it turns out, that people in Istanbul, Turkey, want deals just as much as people anywhere else, and merchants want a more efficient way to acquire customers. It's the value proposition is really sort of universal.
Is there any place that Groupon's really held back by technology today? Like Foursquare, it takes 3 clicks to actually check into a place. So I know sometimes if it's not loading fast enough, I just don't bother to check in. And so perhaps NFC might help that. Shopkick produced their audio signal tracker so that you can instantly get checked into a store once the app is open and you're nearby.
Right. Yeah, the interesting thing about Groupon is I don't think we're held back by technology in terms of all our growth, because at the simplest form, you can just get an email. And if you like the deal, you can click over the website, print out the deal, and go use it, which doesn't require something sophisticated or a smartphone. I think, though, technology is going to help us make the product a lot better for consumers and merchants, right? So for example, on the consumer side, we introduced personalization, a few months ago, and we're going to keep working on that. So the deal we send you in the Daily Deals product is really highly targeted towards you, right? Same thing on the mobile side with Groupon now. The more information we have that we get from you when you express your intent, the better the deal will be. So I think technology is going to make the product a lot better for consumers and merchants, but it's not a limiting factor to people using it.
And where do you see Groupon going in the next 5 years? 200 countries?
I mean, we'll certainly expand, more globally. And besides that, I'm taking my mulligan on that question.
So how many Groupons do you buy each week?
I have a lot of Groupons. And one of the things that's interesting that's happened, at least to me, is because we're growing so fast and we're trying to scale this team, sometimes it becomes hard to use all the Groupons that I buy. But I live in San Francisco. And I've certainly tried different things that I probably wouldn't try if I didn't have a Groupon, or at least new restaurants.
What do you think of the secondary markets for Groupons and Living Social and other daily deal sites?
So let's take the secondary markets one first. Obviously, anytime you build such a big ecosystem with consumers and merchants, there are going to be offshoots and things that spring up that are trying to create value, and I think that's what those are. That's something we'll definitely look at and see if it makes sense for us to help with that. In terms of the competition, I mean, our view is local commerce and advertising is a gigantic market. So, and the business we're in is a pretty good business. So when you combine those two, there's going to be a lot of competition. But as a company, we spend sort of very little time obsessing about the competition and a lot more time obsessing about, well, how do we make this better for consumers, right? Did we send the right deal to the right person? Or how do we make it so merchants have more control? And this is what we're doing with Groupon now in terms of how the customers come through. And that's really kind of the DNA of our company. Just how do we keep sort of making it better for consumers and merchants over time? Because the whole thing's only been around for 3 years. So there's a lot of room for us to improve and make it better.
Now, how have you been able to sign up so many merchants so fast? Is it just your sales force, or is it like Foursquare has signed up 300,000 merchants, mostly through people walking into the store saying, I'm a mayor, and then the merchants self-select into the process?
Right. I mean, obviously, our sales force has had a massive impact in terms of signing up merchants. I mean, the big difference for us is we're actually signing a contract because our deals, there's cash involved, right? People are prepaying for the deals, the consumers are, and then we're sharing that revenue with the merchants. So there has to be more touch involved. But it's been a combination of the sales force, but also the value, right? I think we provide a lot of value to the merchant. We work really hard to help the merchant understand what's going to happen when they run a Groupon. We've started a lot of webinars and giving merchants tools to manage the people that come in. And we really spend a lot of time on that sort of thing.
What type of analytics do the merchants have to figure out which deals work best? And what type of data do they have about historical Groupons so that they know whether or not to advertise $25 versus $15?
Right. So certainly merchants understand how many Groupons they sold. So they run multiple deals, they can look at that data. And then they have some idea of what the redemption rate is, right? How many people are coming in, what frequency they come in. And we try our best to be as transparent as we can with those, with that data. But the mobile app, for example, the redemption app, we've done things like we've allowed them to enter the bill total when they redeem a Groupon, so they can start getting insight into, well, how much are merchants spending, And so as more and more people start using that, they'll have that information for their purposes.
So what are some of the tidbits that you've learned about merchants and buyer activity from Groupon and from all the Groupon data?
Right. The ones that I'm willing to share.
Yeah. What are your fun little anecdotes that you wow the crowds with at parties?
At parties? I don't know if I go to parties anymore. But, well, let's see. On the consumer side, what I think is interesting is people are willing to try a lot of things if you just give them a little bit of incentive, right? And I think, for example, we ran a helicopter lesson deal, and we've run these, flying lesson deals. It's incredible how many people we talk to. There's I would have never tried that if it wasn't for Groupon, right? And so it's such a great fit between what we're trying to do and trying to get consumers to go out there and try new businesses. And from the merchants, we've learned how excited they get when they realize that they can run some sort of Groupon promotion. It's very quantitative and measurable, how many people are going to buy this thing and sort of walk in the door, versus a lot of money they spend on other types of local media where it's very unclear what the ROI is, right? And they're really willing to work with us. And the other thing that's interesting, an anecdote, is we launched these mobile barcode scanning apps that I've talked about. And we have a program where we hand out some of these phones to merchants if they need them. And what's interesting to me is a lot of merchants are just using their own smartphones, and their employees have smartphones, and just downloading the app and using it. And it's kind of taking off and taking a life of its own. So I think merchants are starting to get very tech savvy comparatively, and very fast, based on the evolution of the local space.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We're out of time.
All right.
So
thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
All right.